Good evening, friends. My name is Stanislav Podyachev, and from the name of Talents on AI Foundation, I would like to greet you at the Tonai channel. The preparatory stage of our EquAIlty Hackathon is going, and it began the 16th of November. And let me remind you that this now is the final part of the hackathon, where projects and teams will be presented, and the hackathon will take place on the 6th and 7th of December in Unit City. And if you want to take a part in the hackathon, you just need to register at tonai.org, and anything else, we will be waiting for you 6th and 17th of December in Unit City. So today I'm happy to present you Krishna Chaitanya Rao Kathala, a data analyst and AI expert researcher at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Krishna, I'm happy to see you. Greetings from Kyiv, from Ukraine.
Happy to meet you, Stats. Thank you so much.
Yes, so let's start from the first question, because Krishna now is the role of expert and mentor of the hackathon. And if you guys watching this or joining us with Zoom, please do not hesitate to prepare your questions and just raise your hand up, and I will give you word if you want to ask any questions. So, but the first question will be mine, surely, and it will be like, which interesting cases of using AI in the sphere of human rights protection, diversity, and tolerance have you seen at hackathons? Because I know that you were a mentor and judge on several hackathons on this topic. So please share your experience with us.
Yeah, sure, Stas. Thank you so much. First of all, again, it's a truly honor to be an expert guest speaker for the EquAIlty Hackathon, and I would like to acknowledge and thank the talent of AI Foundation and some of those supporting organizations, including United Nations Ukraine, UNESCO, United Nations Women, UNDP, Ministry of Foreign Affairs Ukraine, and thank you so much, Stats, for coordinating with me, and your support has been instrumental. And I'm thrilled to be part of this collaborative effort. Again, as I mentioned, I am Krishna. I represent University of Massachusetts Amherst, and I'm a researcher here, and I'm deeply engaged in harnessing the power of AI and data for social good. So yeah, that's interesting. Like, getting back to your question, I think that's a really interesting question. Looking at some of the applications in AI, and like, I've been part of several hackathons, and also I've been actively contributing to the research space in the realm of AI, of human rights protection, diversity, and tolerance. Maybe given that, this is a hackathon, and I know, like, hackathons are timed, and, like, we can't achieve everything in that defined timeline. So maybe I'll give some of the interesting projects, and maybe some food for thought for participants, so that, based on the current research and based on the projects that I've seen in the existing hackathon. So, like, as we all know that in recent years, we have seen AI as an emerging powerful ally in human rights advocacy. For instance, predictive analytics has been used to monitor and predict potential human rights and violations across globe. So some of the interesting, again, one of the project that I was really fascinated while I was judging a hackathon at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, which the project is centered around predictive analytics for human rights violations. So what they have done is they've used AI systems to analyze data from news reports, social media, and other potential sources to actually predict and alert about potential human right violations in different regions. I think the project that they've done is specific to Massachusetts region, and yeah, in hackathons, teams have leveraged AI to bias detection in AI systems. I think this is also an interesting project. And, as we all know that there is one of the critical challenge in AI is the potential bias in algorithms, which could potentially lead to the discriminating the outcomes. And there has been research that has been focused on developing tools dedicated to detecting and mitigating biases, especially in the sensitive areas like recruitment processes, loans, education loan approvals, and even I read a news article recently where the Department of Defense and Department of Law Enforcement is also using AI systems in the bias detection. So it's very interesting to see how these organizations are sort of leveraging AI in the bias detection space. And there is also one project that recently I came across, which is specifically on language translation for the refugees. So in the context of aiding refugees and immigrants, like hackathon team have developed AI-powered transition tools. So these tools kind of go beyond standard translation services, like taking into the account of unique linguistic challenges faced by displaced individuals. So there are several language models, including I think Amazon is doing great with generating the language models, and there are also a lot of open source models as well, which potentially one could take advantage of it. And the other project, moving to the third project, which again I'll mention a couple of projects, but ideally these projects could potentially, it's still work in progress. There has been a lot of research going on. Again, the third project, which centered around accessible technology for people with disabilities. So again, there is also potential. This is also a potential area where we could actually leverage AI to assist individuals with disabilities, maybe defining something called speech to text recognition for visually impaired, and as well as sign language recognition for hearing impaired. We have like I was part of one of the research group where we recently got a patent on accessible technology for disabled, so where we have used AI and text to speech recognition for and also for sign language recognition aspect. And yeah, moving to the next application, that which was kind of fascinating, which is in the inclusive education. So like most of my research work that I do here at University of Massachusetts, which is centered around inclusive education through AI. So ideally, again, this is also kind of similar to what I've just mentioned in the previous use case, using AI-driven applications to assist individuals with disabilities in education, and how do we best support these students to navigate through their education and improve the student learning experiences. And also, there has been some other interesting research that's going on in the facial recognition space, if that is something of interest to the participants, or which could be where you could use facial recognition for missing persons, right? Like where you could use AI-based facial recognition for locating missing persons in regions affecting by conflicts or disasters, and maybe the applications aid in reuniting families, which again, by improving efficiency of identifying and locating missing individuals is a challenging circumstances. And even these days, right, I was just boarding to Michigan recently, and where they are actually using AI to for the facial identification, so which again could be one of the interesting use case. And the other project that could be something that where participants could work on, which is on the sentiment analysis, right? Like specific to community, like there has been AI systems which have been developed to perform sentiment analysis on community discussions, particularly regarding sensitive topics like diversity and tolerance. like, using the applications of sentiment analysis could really help to gauge public sentiment and enabling them to respond to the community concerns and promote dialogue around issues related to diversity and tolerance. So I just want to bring an interesting project that we worked at University of Massachusetts, which is around COVID. So this was a time during COVID. There has been several vaccines around the world, right? And uh, surprisingly, like, in as we see in US, it's Moderna, Covishield, Covaxin, even in India. So there has been lot of discussions in Twitter and other social media platforms, right? So and there has been news that's been circulated in WhatsApp and in other social media platforms that vaccines are not ideally good for someone who is aged more than 50 years. And so I was talking to my grandfather, and I asked him, so did you get your vaccine? And he said that he sent me this WhatsApp screenshot that, again, it is not good for aged groups. And then I asked why. And then I kind of triggered him. What was the reason? And then he said, this was the discussion going on. So then I immediately looked up to see whether if the information is accurate or not in United Health, and to see whether if there has been, or World Health Organization, if something is published around it is not good for age groups. But nothing has been published, and nothing has been, like, but it's just that all this fake information that's being circulated. So the project that we have done is so again, during this time, the supply of vaccines is limited, right? There has been this demand supply issue of COVID vaccines. And yeah, so what we had done is, given that we had a limited vaccines, and people have different opinions and biases about vaccines, so we have done a sentiment analysis using like a geographic location-based sentiment analysis. So we have done this project for India. So we have categorized by states, and and then we identified by districts, and then we looked at how sentiments are within districts. Are they positive? Are they negative? Are they neutral? And we have kind of identified those areas where there is a lot of negativity,
Oh,
lot of, yeah.
excuse me, Krishna. I have to just interrupt you. You used Google Maps, or what kind of platform did you use to get those data
Oh, yeah, that's an
for
interesting
sentiment
question.
analysis?
So the data that we have acquired is with the Twitter. So for
Mhm.
participants who are attending this session, so Twitter actually allows. So if you are associated with any university, so you could get an academic Twitter account where that would. So usually with non-academic account, there is a restriction on number of tweets that you could download. But I think with academic restriction, you could do like not unlimited tweets, but again, there is some number that I don't remember. But yeah, like, maybe if you are with the university, maybe try signing up with your university account. I'm sure a lot of students are also part of this hackathon, right? So you could leverage that. So we've used the data from Twitter, and the maps which we have used, Google API Maps, for identifying the regions. And so this was one of the project that we had done on the community sentiment analysis. Again, participants could think of some ideas around, how do we best leverage community sentiment analysis as a AI application, which again ideally help organizations to gauge public sentiment and enabling them to respond to community concerns and promote the dialogue around issues, even like diversity and tolerance, given that hackathon theme is centered around that. And the other application which is AI powered mental health support, right? Like um, just last week, I was at University of Michigan hackathon where I was judging. So this was one of the team that they focused on developing AI driven tools to provide mental health support. And interestingly, again, you might ask me a question. There are a lot of AI powered applications that support mental health support, right? But what is special and what is even unique about this particular project, which is they have focused on marginalized communities, right? So they have positioned themselves to marginalized communities who are facing discrimination. So The application that they've developed, which is this AI application that supports and offers accessible resources and interventions by addressing mental well-being of individuals who are affected by human rights issues and promoting inclusivity. Yeah, like the other project, which is, again, this could be something interesting for someone who is interested in the, again, predictive analytics space, which is centered around policing ethics. Given, again, hackathon is heavily focused on AI, so maybe you could use AI in predictive policing and addressing concerns around bias and discrimination. Maybe by fostering discussions around ethical considerations and see how well you could deploy AI even in law enforcement and ensuring fairness and avoiding undue harm. So there is a startup in San Francisco who recently got Series B funding. So their application focused on helping using AI for immigrants on law enforcement and the visa related issues, right? So US is a pretty diverse country, and people from multiple nations are either working or pursuing their higher education or pursuing their research. So visa issues is a concern. So like their application is helping immigrants on the law enforcement and questions around because hiring an attorney, sometimes it is not accessible to everyone. It's often it's expensive, right? And which as students might not afford hiring an attorney for addressing his question. So maybe some of the systems could, I think, come in handy, right? But again, talking about the applications, but I still realize that there are several challenges, right? It's just not like, again, when we see something good, again, that's going to be bad, right? And there are pros and cons. So some of the challenges and ethics in AI, which personally in my research group at UMass that we are still trying to address, which is again, like while AI's potential is immense, it's not without its challenges, and there's a critical issue which is inherent bias in AI systems. If we fed the data into an AI algorithm which is biased, right, and the outcomes will be biased. So the data that you kind of give to the system should ideally be important. And I'm not sure how many of you are familiar here in the hackathon, right? If you're someone who want to go for higher education, so they have to take this GRE examination, which is conducted by ETS. So surprisingly, so in that language assessment test, it's basically you have to do a first section with essays. So they have trained so this is automated essay scoring, right, in education context. So there are certain students who are creative. Their responses are very creative. That kind of creativeness was not involved in the training set. And so the AI scored this essay on a scale of 6, they scored as 2, right? And the student got pissed off and said, where did I go wrong? And then he kind of, raised a question to them. And then during this discussions and findings, so they realized that systems need to be more inclusive, diverse, and should consider cultural aspects, right? Oftentimes in data, so the important aspect they miss, which is cultural aspects. So like not every solution fit to all the communities. It's not that one solution that I've developed for US can be applicable in Ukraine or can be applicable in some other parts of world, right? It need to be more of personalized, or more of the place that where the solution is being developed or even implemented. So again, if there is a bias, this can lead to discrimination and unequal treatment, especially in the critical areas like even recruitment, right? Like in hiring these days, companies are using AI screenings and applicant tracking systems. Is that you have to upload your resume, and then literally systems like AI is like evaluating whether a candidate is good fit for their culture or good fit for their company or not. So yeah, I mean, there are both pros and cons, but yeah, so these are some of the applications that I could think of.
And about this predictive policy discrimination when you just input the data like a text of future bill, and the model can like examine this project, this document, and see are some kind of violations of minors or maybe women rights. So I think for generative AI, this is the simplest thing can be done in 2 days using, for instance, OpenAI API, and it could be done very quickly because those things like face recognition models also, it will be very hard to do like on a lab, like we say here in Ukraine. So it is like it is very hard work. But everything which is about generative AI or like text AI, that's much more interesting and fun during the hackathon, I guess. And also in your university, how how do students use AI there? Because I'm just curious. Because in Ukraine, students like they try to cheat with OpenAI chat, but I can say that there are some strong projects which can really help to teach, because it's like a tool. Surely I can go to ChatGPT and ask, could you please give me a task to train mathematics, for instance? And he maybe will give me the task. But also I can just put my task there and ask for a solution. But what in your university, how do students use AI?
Got it. That's really an interesting question. So I just want to make sure if I understood your question correctly. So in short, you're asking, is generative AI a tool or a threat specifically in the educational context? Is that correct?
Yes, yes. I'm just leading there. So if in this, if it can be used like for cheating, it's not a good way of thinking, surely. But if we have to give an alternatives, we have to show these alternatives, and I think that for like for minors and for those society spheres where people are not so educated, I think this could be a chance for them. So I'm just asking about how it is in your university, how this process is organized.
Yeah, I mean, so speaking of generative AI, chat GPT, again, like any other power, it's definitely like any other powerful technology. It has potential risks that are associated. And I'll give examples specific to University of Massachusetts research and again, potential risks. So maybe I'd like to start with potential benefits, right? So generative AI can be immensely beneficial in creating content, right? Like a specifically educational context. Even it could also help in aiding in design and innovation, and also providing personalized experiences. So I would like to bucket this into three categories, like from a instruction or like from a teaching standpoint, from professor standpoint. So like in creating educational content, aiding in design and innovation, and providing personalized experiences. On a student standpoint, again, like, you know, uh, US is a place where, again, in a class, you see very diverse students. It's mixed of like people coming from different countries. So like students who have an issues with communication, they could use generative tools like OpenAI, in effective communication. That could be one space. But again, speaking of the potential risks that are kind of associated, which again, it's just not in education, but in general, right? Generative AI could be misused for creating deep fakes and even spreading misinformation, right? The COVID example that I've mentioned, and even in automating biases and posing threats to privacy, security, and even to the social harmony in general. But speaking of an educational context, potential threats, yeah, I think a lot of students, we have seen a rise in students utilizing chat GPT for cheating in exams. So recently there was a board meeting that happened, and one of the key takeaway from that discussion, which is changing in the assessment metrics, right? Rather than more of a descriptive, we took up more of a creative approach, right? Asking students to synthesize class discussion, right? Where AI was not part of, and it's hard for students to give those specific prompts to generate that specific content. And rather than assessing them, more of like a pen and paper, we are using modes to have that physical one-on-one interactions, like a Viva sort of a typical Viva sort of a thing, like where and also instructors are also using, so emphasize change the grading policies. Previously it was more on exams, but now it was more on class discussions, interactions, because someone who could participate in the discussions is definitely someone who is paying attention to the class, right? And yeah, again, as a university, we had also included chat GPT policies in the academic handouts. Like, let's say if students are using chat GPT, like they have to cite the source, whether if the content is being generated for chat GPT. So yeah, I mean, these are some of the potential benefits and harms. But again, impact wise, I think student would definitely, if students are relaying or training chat GPT, personally I think that they are replacing themselves, right? So if I so everyone is unique, right? Every child or every student or every individual are very unique, right? And if we completely rely on chat GPT or rely on this generative AI, or even this advent of large language models, so, I mean, if you're training the system, then like systems could one day replace you, and they could take over your job. So I would urge, just use it to a certain extent, but not like completely give your creative thoughts to the LLM. So yeah.
We think that the problem will be not with a person who will be changed by the AI, losing this job. And the real treat for us is that there are some another person who use AI will be like a treat for a person who is not using AI. We think that AI is a tool, and that's our way of thinking is because we are developers. But we have a friend of us, Taras Bebeshka. He is a philosopher, and when he was hearing us during the first day of the hackathon, and in the evening he came to the stage and said, guys, you are typically wrong because you think that AI is your slave. So your narrative is very close to the 200 years ago narrative about slaves. So you just you just use it, you just restrict it, you are just a consumer or a master to them. But he, as a philosopher, thinks that there is some kind of another view or form of life which is not very like tangible now, but it is like very interesting, and it have to be we have to pay respect to this like he says form of life. What do you think about it?
Yeah, that's a very interesting to look at from a philosophical perspective. I mean, there is a lot of debate that always happens between technologists and a social scientist, right? Uh, and Yeah, comparison to historical slavery, I think the comparison of today's human relation to generative AI models to the concept of slavery is complex, and definitely it's a sensitive topic. But I think some of the key points to consider, which is nature of consensus and sentence as an AI of current technology, which I think lacks consensus and sentence, which is because, again, it is operated based on algorithms and data without any personal experiences or emotions, right? So systems, it's very hard for systems uh, to have that emotions and those personal experiences. I mean, at least at this point, again, like computer scientists are like not so far successful in terms of like making systems emotionally intelligent, which again, I think humans are well prepared, but maybe who knows down the line, maybe OpenAI or some other company might also develop some system that where they could also teach systems to be empathetic. Uh, yeah, and the other aspect, which definitely I think is ethical considerations, right? Looking at the ethical lens through which we view AI is fundamentally different from the historical slavery, which was a gross violation of human rights. And AI is a tool created and governed by humans, which again, devoid of personal agency or rights. And the other one that I could think of, which is responsibility and control, right? The comparison might stem from concerns over how AI is controlled and used solely for human benefit. However, equating to this moral and ethical atrocities of slavery is definitely and not a fair comparison, right? So, I think in conclusion, while AI presents vast opportunities for advancing human rights and fostering diversity and tolerance, I think it is also crucial, right, to approach its development and application with ethical consideration and deep understanding of its societal impact, which I think is important. So yeah, in nutshell, I think there is this fear of one day robots will take over human jobs, but I think um, I don't think it's happening anytime soon, but systems should not replace humans, but where, humans should have control over systems, and where systems could assist humans in those automated tasks where there are like, not less of creativity, where it's more of an automation. So I think in those applications where, we could use. But yeah, I mean, these are some of my thoughts that just triggered from a historical slavery and comparison. And maybe a philosopher perspective might be different from a technology person perspective. But again, this is a huge debatable topic that's going
Yeah,
on.
sure. Yeah. Because like we are like saying the term or using the term human rights, because human is like first. So if it is not a human, you can speak about another creatures, for instance, like dolphin rights or chimpanzee rights, animal rights, surely. But the concept of human rights, I think, is not not applicable here. But like my one friend of mine said that we don't understand completely the life, what the life is. Is for instance, if we put electricity to the tree, it will react if we can measure this reaction. If you put electricity to the something like metal, it will be the reaction also, but this reaction can be measurable, and maybe it will be like similar. We can like if we measure for instance, if we measure as a graphic, we just can see that it is also there is a reaction. So, but we cannot say that metal is alive. But in this case, we don't understand the clear borders of life and not life. Surely, when we are speaking about human, we can understand that if the brain is dead, the person is dead. But for instance, if we are talking about animals, there might be problems. And if we are talking about like silicon life, it also can be like some not clear borders, right?
Got it. Yeah, I mean, definitely, right? So again, this might be something again interesting where participants might take a key takeaway from again navigating ethical challenges, right? So as we delve into ethical challenges posed by AI, it became evident that responsible AI development is imperative, and even biases in AI algorithms, if unchecked, can certainly lead to discrimination, with the example that I've just mentioned with the ETS and automated essay scoring. But however, addressing these biases required a concentrated effort to ensure fairness. I think three aspects: fairness, diversity, and the transparency in the AI systems. And yeah, there's a Microsoft research they are still doing a lot of work on bias detection and mitigation, where AI tools often could include features dedicated to detecting and mitigating biases, which again, these tools aim to eliminate unintentional discrimination, or it could be race or gender or ethnicity, right? And particularly in critical areas, even some of the examples that I've mentioned earlier, recruitment, or even like areas like loans, or even with the Department of Defense, or the law enforcement examples that I've mentioned. I think the goal is to create AI systems that are fair and unbiased, and also having a transparent AI frameworks are important, and making them an open source, right? And so that it is peer reviewed, and others in the community can also contribute if it is open source too. So I think transparent AI frameworks are really important, even for folks who are participating in hackathons, right? So if someone want to contribute something to the AI framework, so if they are open source, so that they could add and contribute. So I think to address the concerns about control and transparency, I think ethical AI frameworks are really essential, right? And these frameworks advocate for diverse data sets, and transparent algorithms, and ensure a continuous dialogue about social implications of AI technologies, and open communication and collaboration are, I think, critical in navigating the evolving landscape of AI in ethics. So yeah, just some of the thoughts that I had.
Yeah, surely everything on hackathon, every code, every line of code at hackathons are transparent and open source. So if you don't mind, I will share my screen and show you the ideas. It is, excuse me, but it is in Ukrainian, but I will be translating for you. The ideas of the hackathon, and if you will be interested, just make some comments about those ideas, okay?
Sure. So do you want to share this with me so that I can put my comments to the same? But yeah, I wish again, this is also
Sure.
interesting, right? So maybe, Miro could leverage AI for language translation
For
and
translation, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I will just copy the link
Okay.
and put it to the chat here. Okay, no, not here. But how can I send it? Chat. Okay, just send. Yeah. So firstly, we have here how to uh, how to fix discriminations of women during the elections. There are some messages like if you have no children, you cannot go to the parliament. Sounds interesting, but it is for detection of such cases. The second is like a guide to decide the challenges, not very complicated, but very important challenges for NGOs. Okay, so it is like maybe it is a guide for AI application to decide those challenges. Okay, prompts which empower uh, which creates like a helper who creates prompts. Like it's a circle system. You have to create the assistant who will be creating prompts for your assistants, and then you put the assistant, and yeah, why not? I think it could work because maybe this like cycling system is if the prompts will be better, why not? Next, assistant who creates applications for grants, counting the context of NGO. So, for instance, if you have like human rights protecting NGO, you can automate the grants application because I think that the majority of questions in this application will be continuing from one grant to another. So maybe there is something useful in this also because surely we have to optimize the time because at NGO as a rule people don't get salary, so the time is crucial, is very important. The second is methodology of audit. I don't know because just two words, methodology of audit. Maybe it is about, okay, I remember this author of the idea. She told that she has methodology to control the financial statement of the NGOs, and she wants to make it automatically. Okay. Next topic is classification and detection of crimes, and there are war crimes, sexual crimes, and implementation, like home violence crimes. I actually don't know how to detect those crimes. Maybe through if we can scan like social media if those criminals will share this like content, and the agent like bot can just fix like to detect the scene as a crime, and this scene can be classified and then put to police to detect this. Yes. Another is like a development of programs for people with dyslexia. Dyslexia is yes, it's like disability. It's a type of disability, and like accessibility for sites. Yeah, I heard about this project, and even you, Krishna, mentioned one of these type of projects for people with disabilities to be able to access websites. Okay, and next one is a model of risks. Realization of projects. So for it is like a legal thing to model the risks of projects of bills. Okay, and the second idea in this sphere is like implementation of decisions of international courts in Ukraine. Or like I actually don't know what kind of problem is it. Is this the real problem or not? But somebody will be working on it. Okay, we'll see. And the last but not the least, is that also legal chatbot for working with precedent base of human rights violation. It is like so. If, for instance, if the human got some actions, and this base could maybe get understand that your rights were violated. Maybe it is something like you mentioned from the startup in San Francisco, who are doing like AI legal help for immigrants. Maybe that's something similar. Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think about those topics, those ideas? Was it something you think more important or more interesting for you? Oh, your microphone is off.
Sorry. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
now, yes.
Sorry. Yeah. So I think these are like, I mean, a lot of ideas, and I just tried to note down a few of them. But again, apologies if I missed to address some of those ideas. But again, I am happy to help in case if I miss any of those ideas. Maybe if you could just send me in English over an email, I would be happy to do. But some of the things that I've just took note, which is applications of AI in NGO, specifically in grants. Because again, that's very interesting. Because again, NGOs often lack with teams and again with finances and human resources. So I think things like data analysis and decision making using AI could really help in grant applications. Maybe I could think of using machine learning algorithms that which could help in identifying patterns and assess the effectiveness of past projects and make data-driven decisions for the grant allocation. So maybe, think of like automated document review, like where AI power tools could help in review the processes like grant applications using natural language processing, which could be employed to analyze written proposals. Again, if they are research proposals or if they are project specific proposal or if they are, any based on the categorization. So like such tools could help in categorizing. So it is all like automated things. So where human need not to involve, like automating and also extracting some key summary about the proposals, right? So I was talking to one of the NSF grant reviewer. So what she said is, or even NSF is a very large, grant issuing organization, and they have a lot of funds, right? And their problem is not about issuing funds. Their problem is about they get a lot of applications and on different uh, so if the theme is AI in education, right? And people might submit applications like AI in healthcare or AI in agriculture or AI in, some other field, which is not relevant to the application criteria, right? And they do have to review like thousands of applications, right? And which is not ideal, right? If the applications are not relevant to the proposal requirement or to the proposal theme. So tools like, AI could come in, or even machine learning could come in to do the classification of these documents, and maybe able to shortlist some of those applications. But I think human review should be essential and important. Sometimes, again, these tools could also make mistakes if the systems are not well trained with the training data sets. So again, there are this risk assessment. The other one, I think someone just asked about utilizing AI in financial data and the project plan. So I'm assuming uh, you're talking about the financial section in the proposal. So like, I think, tools like, again, AI could facilitate in looking at, like, let's say if the grant proposal says that, we are issuing a grant of 50,000 US dollars, right? And we ask all the applicants to put a budget proposal stating that 50,000, right? But some of those users might include like 100K or 200K or 80K, right? So this is all just mathematical calculation. So systems are very good at computing and statistical analysis. So we could use AI to see whether they are meeting the minimum threshold requirement. Are they meeting at 50,000 if the grant proposal requirement for an NGO, or, and see, and maybe shortlist the ones that are, 50,000 and under 50,000, and, not consider the applications that are, more than, and yeah, the other aspect that, again, impact assessment could be a good space for NGOs where AI could certainly contribute in evaluating the impact of funded projects by analyzing relevant data. And like, let's say, you want to evaluate or define benchmarks between your previous year applicant grant versus current year applicant grant. So you could also do a comparative study to see how the previous applicants are, they like quality wise and richness and theme, and then you could also compare by current years, and utilize that in the impact assessment reports. And the other topic that you mentioned is crime classification on AI applications. Again, systems like AI could certainly analyze large crime data, so to identify patterns and classify different types of crimes or violence. Again, this could be a good application for law enforcement agencies in understanding the crime trends, and also allocating resources effectively, right? So they know in advance, and where, someone who is good at machine learning, they could do some time series analysis to see for better resource allocation for a law enforcement agency utilizing this machine learning models, and image and video analysis. So again, if the problem, I'm not sure if these participants have access to any of this access to data. But again, data is, you get it in different format, right? Structured, unstructured, and if it is, again, different types of formats, which is text, image, and video based data. So I think I'm assuming for the folks that who are working on this crime classification project, you are using image and video analysis to kind of categorize the crimes, right? And maybe the data that you could potentially acquire is from surveillance cameras to identify criminal activities. And one aspect that you could use is object recognition and anomaly detection, which could be employed to spot suspicious behavior or incidents where, you could implement this even in, public transportation areas or even in airports to identify if there is something suspicious, and, predictive policing, right? So machine learning the models could predict potential crime hotspots based on historical data. I think it is important to preserve the historical data. I always, say even this to my team, and UMass is really, really doing a lot of research on how best we could preserve the historical data, because in order to make better decisions, I think you need to have a good historical data to use. But yeah, the other one, which is you've asked people with dyslexia using AI, right? I think one of the example that I've mentioned, but I quickly summarize. I know we are also running a short of time. So again, AI could create personalized learning programs for individuals with dyslexia, maybe adaptive learning platforms that can adjust content and pacing based on learner strength and weakness. This is actually my interesting I'm really interested in this particular topic because a lot of my work that I do is AI in education. So again, example could be AI-driven education platform assess the strength and weaknesses of each dyslexic learner and adapting lesson plans. Again, this could help for even instructor and exercises that suit for individual learning styles, because each student is very different in terms of like learning styles and pacing. So someone might solve a problem in 2 minutes, but someone might solve in 2 days. So like system should be, you could use AI to, pace up the lesson plans and pace up the assignments specific to, and maybe, bring some gamification in education and in learning. But yeah, I mean, these are some of the aspects, but critical. I mean, the other one I'll summarize in 1 minute. The legal chatbot that you've asked for monitoring elections and predicting potential human right violations. I think it's an interesting topic, right? But it's actually complex, and but there are valuable applications of AI technology where such as chatbot could help in providing information and guidance and support related to legal issues during elections, and maybe an election officer or elections committee, Department of Elections could the committee could use this chatbot and maybe give it accessible to the voters, so that like if they see something is not correct, so they could report that via chatbot, so that which are accessible to them. And it's real-time monitoring, right? So which is also important. And also the other objective that you could also look at is monitor social media to see if there are news feeds and other sources of real-time information. Like Twitter is a good one that you could leverage, and there are also Facebook, but I think Facebook has this API restrictions. But yeah, like which is real time, and there are risks, and yeah. But yeah, if I miss anything again, stats, feel free to send those questions to me over email, or maybe you could share my email with participants, and they could just send me an email. Maybe I'll use some of these large language models to translate to English and try to.
Yes, yes, yes. That's sounds reasonable, because we have not only use AI for hackathon for projects, but preparing to the hackathon, and in daily life we have to use it freely. So thanks again, Krishna, for this conversation, and thank you for being our mentor. And we will share, if you don't mind, we will share your email here in the comment section down under this video. And thank you again, and thanks everyone who was watching. And I'll remind you that we had Krishna Chaitanya Rao Kathala today. Krishna is a data analytics and AI expert and researcher in the University of Massachusetts Amherst. So Krishna, thank you again. Have a good day, and goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Taz. And thank you so much for the folks who have attended. Feel free to reach out to me on over email. I'm happy to respond. And best of luck with your hackathon projects. Thank you.